And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the CaptureCast webinar for April. And want to welcome you. Today, we're going to talk about graduate enrollment, how to level up your graduate enrollment, and strategies for 2024 and beyond. And graduates become more and more important to everyone uh, because of the diversification. We're going to get into that a little bit here in a little while, but the need for more net tuition revenue, the need to grow more programs, those kinds of things. So today, we're looking to answer some pretty easy questions, to be honest with you. How do we identify potential applicants? Where are we going to find those students at? What channels should we be using in our digital advertising and in our recruitment efforts? And then lastly, how do we engage with these students and prospective students as they go through this journey as well? And as always, if you want to, you can always put a question in the chat and we'll get to it here in a little while. But for those of you who are new to the CaptureCast, welcome. It's great to see you. For a little bit about us, Capture Higher Ed, we are a enrollment marketing outfit, and we try to make every interaction count. We're powered by the industry's only behavioral intelligence platform, which actually houses Engage, which enables you to track your prospective students' behavioral data and make every relevant connection with your students. We do this by using our Engage marketing automation and our two predictive models, Apply and Enroll. We also are a full service kind of group as well. We have a full suite of marketing solutions, all backed by our experts who are former seated vice presidents and directors of admissions and our data science team working together to make sure that you reach your enrollment goals. So as always, we're get started off today with your question of the day. We'll actually do two today, but the first one is, and Emma, you can pop this up for us. We are about 120 days away from fall semester. I know we're in April. Everybody's worried about FAFSA. This is a little bit of a grad webinar, but financial aid is a big thing for graduate as well. How are you feeling about your graduate program enrollment projections right now? How are you feeling? Are you feeling pretty good about it? Are you cautiously optimistic about your graduate enrollment? Are you seeing that lag like you are probably seeing in your undergraduate enrollment? Or you have no idea where you're going to be in the fall? I think that's a really interesting question. A lot of times, grad enrollment starts to peak later in April, May, and June as we get ready for fall semester. But I'd like to see what everybody's kind of feeling right now. So as you go through this day, make sure that you are keeping abreast of that. So Emma, let's see if we have any results. Oh, we're having a little technical difficulty on the back side of everything. Well, you know how you feel about it. We're hearing that everybody's a little flat right now, and looking to grow graduate enrollment, obviously, at the same time. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about the current landscape of graduate enrollment. Where do we find those students? Again, the right channel at the right time, best practices for engagement, and then some final thoughts and takeaways. And then what's next? Because we have some important announcements coming up as well. So let's talk a little bit about the current landscape. The demographics are changing, right? We've been hearing about the enrollment cliff and the decline of the traditional student size, number of students entering college. There has been a little bit of a rebound in enrollment these past couple of years, the past year or so, but that will translate later on into graduate enrollment. But right now, we're seeing the graduate enrollment has started to creep up a little bit, but there is a decline in that net tuition revenue at the undergraduate level. So that's why a lot of times colleges and universities are looking to add programs, and we're going to talk about that in a second. The need for graduate degrees. There has been an increase in the number of jobs that require some type of post-undergraduate credential. With the pandemic happening, there was a movement of, maybe not having a lot of jobs that needed an undergraduate or graduate credential, but there is an increase in that as data science, as math, has really started to take off. And having that advanced degree is something that will help people obviously grow within their job, but also be able to make that next stride and getting that next level high of pay anyway. but as much as 15% of an increase, according to the National Bureau of Labor Statistics. So over the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see there's going to be more demand for a master's degree or better in the graduate landscape. Diversification of academic portfolio. And I think there's a lot of smaller colleges and even some of the bigger colleges too have started to look at the number of academic programs they offer at the graduate and postgraduate level, the doctoral level as well. But even at the undergraduate level, they're trying to keep students enrolled longer or finding shorter ways to get into their graduate programs. Several programs in the Midwest have seen that 3+2 MBA program or the 4+1 with a master's in education. There's one for actuary science that I've seen recently as well. So a lot of colleges and universities are trying to blend the grad and the undergrad together, kind of like what we did with post-secondary option, right? With students taking classes at high school that actually count as college level coursework. They're trying to get students to stay enrolled. They're trying to get students to stay engaged to move through those programs. And they're trying to grow enrollment that way. Everybody's been throwing spaghetti at the walls for the last, probably 10 or 12 years on how to grow enrollment and do it right as majors come and go. But I think at the end of the day, graduate degrees, online programs, certificates, even non-traditional pathways of getting credentials are important for colleges and universities to take a look at right now. So the current landscape, institutions are finally starting to realize that enrollment management can help with graduate enrollment. And I was going to ask a question here not too long from now, but when you think about your graduate recruitment setup on your campus, there's different types of setups, right? You have different types of whether admissions is housed in the admissions office for graduate, or maybe it's decentralized, and your admissions decisions and your admissions recruitment are housed out off in the academic unit. Either way, you're starting to see that the graduate enrollment marketing person has started, this role has started to evolve. Not only are they being academic advisors and they're being recruiters, but they're also helping do transcript evaluations. They're also helping do financial aid. They're also being that liaison to the academic side when a student is having problems in class. So I think a lot of times this new hybrid approach is kind of an extension of what we were doing in the undergrad as well, with regular admissions counselors who can speak to retention and resources on campus, how to get financial aid, those kinds of things. Where in the past, a lot of times the decentralized graduate enrollment folks really didn't, they only really concentrated on enrolling that student. A lot of times those people were professors too. So there wasn't a lot of time and attention that was put toward it. But graduate is a growth market, right now. It's interesting. Over the last couple of years, 780,000 master's degrees were awarded on an average yearly. That's a lot of master's degrees. That's a lot of people getting their MBAs. That's a lot of people getting master's degrees in education, behavioral analysts, psychology, biologists. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I think there's a thirst for graduate education as well. Students want to have more connection, not only with their professors, but with the topics that they're learning. And once they figure out what they want to be when they grow up, I think there's a lot to that. Second, there's 182,000 doctoral degrees awarded on an average the last couple of years. I being one of those, and obviously getting that doctoral level meant a lot to those folks, and I think there becomes a bigger connection to your institution if you have someone who has a master's degree or a doctoral degree from your institution as well. I think they're more likely to actually give if you're thinking about institutional advancement and giving later on in life. Advanced degrees also count toward that. It's not just the undergraduate degree. So kind of keep that in mind as you're out there recruiting students as well. And lastly, 48,000 new academic programs have been launched in the last 6 years. Again, colleges and universities have started to think about how to diversify their approach to net tuition revenue. They're adding some master's programs. They're adding doctoral programs. to obviously entice students to come to campus, whether they're traditional aged or non-traditional age students, but they're providing a service to that local community as well. Because anytime you can bring a higher, more educated workforce to the table, a lot of times the economic growth is a little bit bigger as well. So I think, college universities are doing it for a lot of different reasons to stay relevant. But it's not the end all be all. Again, diversification is undergraduate, it's graduate, it's certificate, it's transfer, those kinds of things to diversify that tuition revenue that's coming in so that you can maintain your mission. And I think that's an important part. So this was the next question I was going to ask you. We're having some technical difficulties on the backside, but how many of you work in that traditional admissions office? Or how many of you work in that academic side of the house? I was wondering how that looked. I was looking at the registrations earlier, and a lot of you work on the academic side, which is exciting because I think that a lot of times, if you're working with the academic folks, you can help bring that education to life for that prospective student prior to them coming to campus, helping them make that transition. Oh, it now works. Emma Brown at HQ in Louisville. Thank you for posting this up. But everybody, let's answer the question. Are you admissions all the way? Do you work on the academic side of the house, or are you somebody that served both masters? I worked on a campus not too long ago, and I served both. We were in charge of creating inquiries, applications, getting applications completed, but the decisions were made on the faculty side. So as you've gone through your day today, are you serving both? Or are you serving one or the other? So, Emma, let's go ahead and pull the results up for that. Okay, admissions all the way. So great. Those folks who probably either didn't answer or they work on the academic side of the house will probably be watching this later. But if you're on the mission side, congratulations. That's awesome that you're working on the graduate side. And if you serve both masters, I feel for you sometimes because the enrollment manager wants certain things, and your dean and your academic side wants certain things too. And those two pulleys, right? And you sit in a situation sometimes where you don't know if you're coming or going. So hopefully communication is strong between the three of you, the three entities per se, as you go through it. So, all right, cool. So let's talk about building that strong funnel. And I think that's an important thing. When we're starting to do that, let's identify some places where you can get some of your best recruits. And I think of the first thing is, and I was a part of this when I first did my first 10 years of graduate. After my undergrad, I was considered part of the Gold Club, the graduates of the last decade club. And those students are actually more likely to re-enroll in your institution than other students because you have brand awareness, brand affinity. They know the faculty, they know the staff, they know what kind of education they're going to get from your institution. So working with your institutional advancement folks and working with your admissions offices at the same time to identify those students even early on before they graduate who might be interested in a graduate program, I think is important. You have all of their data. You already have all of their transcripts. All they need to do is fill out a simple application. And if you have other materials, letters of recommendation, those kinds of things, it'll be easier for the student to get from that campus because they were yours to start with. But think about graduates of the last decade, your Gold Club. 2, recruiting prospects from current sophomore, juniors, and seniors. Again, you have a plethora, if I'm going to use the term plethora, of students on your campus that you can start working with. Work with your faculty in their sophomore years, the junior year, and the senior year to recruit students to stay in the program or to move to the graduate side of the house. It's really easy for a startup program. Say you introduce a new program, a new master's program in, say, linguistics. And it has a Department of Defense kind of angle to it. There's nothing that says that you can't go and work with criminal justice majors, English majors, specific language majors, business majors on campus who might benefit from a degree in linguistics, for instance. One thing that I also want to throw out there is this notion of off-ramping students. Maybe a student is a nursing student on your campus, or they're a nursing in the nursing profession, for instance. and they want to get a master's degree, but they don't want to do it necessarily in nursing. Maybe something in public health, maybe something in the MBA world. So don't think in a microcosm or in a vacuum about about how you're recruiting. Different majors for different people. So my suggestion is look at your local community and look at your leaders in your local community and see what kind of educational backgrounds they have. A lot of times they'll have an undergraduate degree, but their graduate degree is somewhat related, but not. Oftentimes it's not. Oftentimes somebody will get a degree in education, for instance, and instead of getting a master's degree in education, they go out and get an MBA. Or they go off and get a degree in public health, those kinds of things. It just depends on what's interesting to that student at that time of their journey. But recruiting prospects on campus, easy, right? Set up a table on campus someplace, have your faculty work with you to do that. I think that's a great opportunity. Third, increase and diversify your outreach for international students. The international market has changed over the last 5 or 6 years, obviously, the pandemic. But it's started to come back really, really well. And we're seeing more and more of international students entering the United States for education. So looking at your master's and your doctoral programs where it might be strong to have an international presence inside your classrooms at the same time. Doesn't mean that you have to travel. You could do some armchair recruiting. You can do some digital advertising and marketing that way to start with. And working with the different testing services like ETS, we're going to talk about them here in a second, to identify those students and say that, hey, you're welcome, you're wanted here. We'd like to have you come to the United States to learn. But diversifying your campus is always a good thing in my book. And international students is a great way to do it as well. 3, retargeting former inquiring applicants that did not enroll. So remember, you started recruiting students. If you're going to do the class of 2024, you started recruiting them back in late 2021, maybe 2022 for their undergrad. Those students are still kind of in the hopper. You still have an opportunity to reach out to those students and talk to them about, hey, you may have been interested in our college or university before, but at the same time, maybe they didn't enroll for whatever reason, but they took enough time to become an inquiry or an applicant on your campus. So that means there was something there that they liked about you. So why not reach out to them and say, hey, congratulations, we think you're graduating soon. Are you thinking about a master's or a doctoral program? It's a quick, easy email, or you can start doing targeted ads that way as well. And getting them to visit your website, drive that website content, drive that website interaction, and measure that, because you should be able to measure that with your marketing automation platform. And I think that's a really great way to go about reaching out to those former inquiries and applicants who may be literally 2 or 3 years old on your campus. Create partnerships with other 2-year and 4-year institutions. If you are a part of the United States that does not have a lot of 4-year or master's degree programs, they're just some regular bachelor's degree institutions nearby, why not reach out to them and say, hey, we would like to be able to come to your campus. Then there are college fairs for graduates all over the United States, but I think at the same time, there's a way that you can create those partnerships so that a student can graduate from say an institution and then go off to law school if you happen to offer a law school, or into your physician assistant program, or in your OT and your PT, your pharmacy program, and create specific pathways from that institution to your institution. It helps build brand awareness over time with those students on that other campus. And at the same time, if you look at your 2-year schools, there are programs out there where a student will graduate with their 2-year degree, their associate's degree, and it ends up becoming like a 2+4 program where they graduate with the associate's degree, they go get their bachelor's degree and their master's degree with another 3 years in school. So a lot of that I've seen in an MBA and in education across the United States as well. So looking for that nimbleness that sometimes we don't have in higher ed is something that we should be pushing forward and talking with our faculty and staff about to help propagate that. 6, develop and design a comprehensive search strategy using ETS and some of the other search services that are out there. Purchasing names is not a bad thing, folks. People do it all the time, whether it's higher education or Bed Bath and Beyond, or whatever service that's out there. Again, you are looking for the best students for your institution, and building that cohort of students every year over time. So having a good relationship, working relationship with different vendors to tell them what kinds of students you're looking for, maybe a geographic location that you're looking for, certain types of programs, those kinds of things. They can be a great help, and they're actually wonderful people too, to be honest with you. And seven, partner with your local businesses and employers. There's nothing to be said that, when you have a local manufacturing group. I'm here in South Carolina, and we're building a new Scout automobile plant just south of Columbia. It's an electric vehicle. And one of the reasons why they have decided to come to South Carolina was because of the richness of the education that their kids are going to get when they come to work here, but that they can get as well. They could tap into places like the University of South Carolina, for instance, for educational needs, those kinds of things. It helps with economic development, obviously, and anytime that you can get an employer to help pay for, especially in the healthcare end of things, help pay for that education, students are more likely to enroll. So digital channels, I think this is a big deal. And when you're looking at graduate inquiry accelerators, I think one of the things that you have to think about is a diversified approach. Obviously, we want to meet them where they are. And I've got a graphic here in a second that I'm going to show you. But biggest thing is to drive the website traffic, number one, and number two, to get them to apply. But you've got to meet them where they are, just kind of like what you're doing with the undergraduate students. But graduate students are a little bit different. They're a little bit more focused on what they want to learn. They want to know when they can get enrolled, and they want to know how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost. A lot like transfer students, if you work on the undergraduate side too. But their focus is, I need these 5 questions answered so that I can work my life around what this is going to be for me. So LinkedIn advertising is always big. A lot of colleges and universities now are really working with their undergraduate students to create LinkedIn profiles, strong LinkedIn profiles, and being able to do a very specific LinkedIn campaign usually can get you some really solid leads moving forward. Again, but if you're doing regular advertising, you're going to build brand awareness at the same time. So, that, I think that's a big thing. Graduate search purchasing, we just talked about working with those vendors like ETS and the other vendors where you can get some information about a prospective student to reach out to them, whether it's by email, regular mail, postcards. I mean, postcards are still a thing, guys. The way of the view book has kind of gone away at the graduate level, but getting in front of students and getting in front of students' parents is still a big deal. A lot of times, parents will be looking to help a student continue their education, especially if they're a traditional student. Landing pages. So as you build out your website and you build out your digital platforms, one really great suggestion I have, and it's on both sides here, on the application side too, is creating a specific landing page of content so that a student can see outcomes on that landing page of the degree, maybe how long it takes to get through that program, some highlights of the program, highlights of the professors, those kinds of things. The more that you can put out there in a reasonable amount, I think is going to help you move students through your funnel a little bit faster and have a stronger working knowledge of information about that student so that you can curtail messages later, whether it's in an email, a phone call, text message, whatever those might be. But tracking all that information with your marketing automation platform is a big deal. And when we switch, and obviously email is still a thing, email works. Everybody says they hate email and everybody's got a junk email address someplace, but email works. And if done right and done correctly, it can really have a great influence on whether a student enrolls with you or not. But messaging is key. Messaging is always key in everything that we do. And frequency, right? There is a sweet spot, whether it's 25 emails. I'm saying trust me, it's not 25 emails, but it's more like, between 5 and 7 or 10 emails to get students to move through the process. But email is still a thing. It still works really well. We're looking at applications again. There's triggered direct mail as well. It's something that we have found that works in a lot of places as well. So as a student works their way through the enrollment process, sending them a postcard saying, "Hey, congratulations, you've been admitted," or "Hey, you need to finish your application," or "Come to admitted student day for graduate students online," or "Come to online orientation," those kinds of things. Again, having that message curtailed to where the student is at the time is really, really important, um, because you're making that connection, right? Regardless of what we say about AI, regardless of what we say about data and data science and things like that, enrollment management, folks, is still an art and a science. The art is creating the relationship. The science is making sure that we're making the right choice of message at the right time so that we engage the student where they need to be engaged at. The years of, and we were just on a call earlier today, of sending 96,000 postcards or sending out 200,000 view books, even at the undergraduate level, is over. Curtailed messages or segmenting your lists, those kinds of things. I think that's important, and we need to really take that into account, because we're building those relationships not only just for the first year, and I think that's another thing that the graduate side and even on the undergraduate side too, we really need to start thinking about the end game, right? We're not recruiting first-time students into our master's program. We're not, just like we're not recruiting first-time freshmen anymore. We're recruiting graduates. We want these people to graduate from our institutions. We want them to be successful in life. We want them to go off and take care of the world at the same time. So I think that's an important part of it, is making sure that your channels, your digital channels, and how you manage those is really, really important. So when we talk about that multi-channel engagement, so let's talk about Aiden's journey here. And this is kind of a fun graphic. So as we start to build out, so obviously, he took his GRE, and of course we bought it. We buy names, that's fine, as an institution, and Aiden knows that because Aiden signed up to get our information. So we started an email comm flow, right? So we're in the email to Aiden. Aiden, hey, congratulations on your score. Or Aiden, hey, congratulations. We see that you're interested in business administration as a master's degree. We'd really like to talk to you about it. Invite them to campus. First web visit. So when your marketing automation platform actually can see Aiden hitting your website, then you can see where Aiden goes within your website, right? So if Aiden comes to your master's degree program, to your MBA program webpage, and then all of a sudden he clicks over to scholarships and grants. Okay, well, that means that money is on Aiden's mind the the degree. Again, typical behavior of a graduate student. But then all of a sudden, Aiden really gets interested in us, and Aiden fills out a person, what we call a PID form. It's an RFI form. But once he fills that out, he raises his hand and says, "Hey, I'd really like to have some contact with you." Then we can really start into our recruiting process. So as Aiden starts to come back to the website, then to continue his search, at that point in time, we can pop up and through your marketing automation platform like ours, you pop up a toaster or a popover that actually says, "Hey, this is your next step. We want you to apply. We want you to send us your transcripts. We want you to visit campus. We want you to talk with a professor. We want you to have coffee with the president." Whatever that message might be, that message is specific to Aiden because we've been able to measure how Aiden has come aboard to the website. So we keep adding pushes. We keep nudging him along. It's not intentional. It's all rules based. It's not a pop up, pop up, pop up, pop up. Maybe we have to wait through. Maybe we set it up so that it takes 2 or 3 times of Aiden visiting back to the web page for us to give him another reminder and nudge to come back and actually complete his application. So then all of a sudden, here comes digital advertising, right? So we're popping into his phone, and we're popping up into his Google, and we're popping up on his ads on his Facebook page or on his Twitter or X. We should call it X, right? However it is that your digital advertising is laid out, you're popping in there again saying, "Hey, here's an outcome." I have found that the messaging on that is usually better if you say, "Here, an outcome of ours is Johnny got a better job, or whatever that outcome might be. But the digital advertising campaign, a lot of times that message is not about come and apply so much as it is, hey, if you apply and you graduate, you can do well in your future. Then all of a sudden, Aiden does his application. Boom. Now we've reset that. We're resetting the communication plan like you do in your CRM. Now we're in the applicant mode. Now we have faculty involved. Now we have our admissions team involved, whether they're making phone calls or text messages or whatever at that point in time. So here it is again. Here's the text. The personalized triggered text message deployed to encourage application completion. We need to get Aiden's transcripts, and we all know that transcripts are hard to get sometimes. So that gentle nudge every once in a while is a good thing to give him. And then July, he's accepted. He gets his accepted students packet. We get that transcript in. We get to make that determination, and then we send out his packet. We make that phone call. We send that text message, and Aiden's officially involved. And then it's time to make that decision. So we've gotten Aiden from February all the way to July. He's going to pay that deposit, and he's going to enroll in your school in August, on August 15th, which is 120 days away from yesterday. So I think I think that kind of lays it out for you, because where Aiden is where you want to communicate with him. So if he's on your website, you communicate there. If he's reading your email, you communicate there more through email. If he's answering the phone, keep calling him every once in a while. But again, having the message right at the right time is a really big deal. So as we finish up today's webinar, I want to leave you with some final thoughts. And I think they're elementary, I think, to be honest with you. But I think it means it's worth reiterating to everybody at the end of the day. First, leave no rock unturned. I just gave you a list of 7 or 8 different places that you can be looking for students. There's probably 5 or 6 more that are out there that you know of, that I don't know of. But construct a diverse and engaging search strategy. Find those students and drive them to the top of your funnel. Not everybody's going to enroll, right? So you should know that all of the students who apply to your institution, what does your funnel look like? What does that breakdown look like? How many apply but don't send their transcripts? How many send their transcripts but don't get admitted? You know, that kind of thing. And having that idea and what that looks like over time, 3 to 5 years worth of data, you can start to picture out what a funnel might look like if you want to increase or have the ability to increase, excuse me, the number of students in your programs. So I always work in the rule of thirds. So I would need a third more. If I want to get a third more deposits, I need a third more acceptances, a third more applications than I did acceptances, and up the funnel that way. That's an easy way to do it. But you can be real specific about how you go about building your funnel out, which works best for you, especially if you're looking for programs where you have a lot of competition and not a lot of seats. You still want to build a really good, solid enrollment funnel for your faculty to review a lot of those programs, a lot of those applications, so they get the best students for their program. And giving them that variety is a big deal. 2, segment and focus appropriate messaging. Again, I cannot tell you passionately enough. It's about the right message at the right time. It's not about 50 messages over 50 days. Or, back when I first started in admissions, we were on what we call the 10-minute rule, or the 10-day rule, for making phone calls. We would make contact with every single one of our applicants every 10 days by phone. That was before email. I'm that old. Before we'd always do direct mail, those kinds of things as well. But having that right message to help nudge that student along in their journey to making that right decision, I think, is a big deal. And having marketing automation in concert with your CRM, because everybody's got a CRM pretty much now, right? I mean, everybody has chosen a CRM, they're implementing a CRM. So there is that drip campaign that's going, right? And your counselors can be making phone calls along the way or sending out postcards or whatever plan that you have in place. But from the digital perspective, you can get really specific about specific messages to that right student at the right time. So if that student is visiting your website at, say, 3 o'clock in the morning, because guess what? They're an undergraduate student sitting on somebody else's campus. And we all know that students don't go to bed, right? They don't go to bed at normal hours. They're not searching for college at normal hours. They're searching for it at night as they're watching Netflix or whatever in their room, and overnight. So you have to be able to see that and make adjustments to when those students are going to be getting those messages. And lastly, identify and measure. Again, this is an art and a science, right? You want to identify the best students for your institution. And what I mean by best, I'm not saying, the best grades or anything else like that. What I'm saying is those students who have the right fit for you, whatever that fit might be, and then measure that over time. Is your investment, your ROI investment, something that is measurable for you? We have a ton of different resources for you on our website about how to measure ROI of your digital campaigns. It's not just overall spend, it's to the campaign level. Did this campaign that said we wanted to push applications for a specific program and we ran it during this specific time, this yielded this many applications, this many acceptances, this many deposits? There are many funnels within the big funnel. The beauty of technology is that we can have that stuff built out within our CRMs and our marketing automation platforms, so that at the end of the day, we have the data to make the decisions that we need when it comes time to purchasing more advertising or purchasing more names. But it also gives us a better idea of what kind of messages and when those messages should be sent. Okay, so simplify and maximize your digital footprint, and have an idea of what you are going into, but always remember you can change on the fly. Enrollment and recruiting right now, especially at the graduate level, is not a set it, forget it kind of thing. It is set it, measure it, change it, optimize it, change it, optimize it, change it. You could do it every month. You could do it every 6 months, and whatever your cadence is. But again, keep that in mind about where you are in the overall scheme of things.